Then one day when I was 24, my sister, my only sibling who I was very close to, died of a heart attack at age 21. After I grieved my grief, I was forced to look at my own mortality, and I thought it should have been me. I was the one slowly killing myself.
I was just so lost and so broken. And I knew that I needed God. And I knew that the Catholic Church was the right church. And there was something there that I knew I didn't have. I just hadn't been very faithful all those years.
Then I realized that I needed to really get to know who God is. That he's not there to replace the emotional highs. There's got to be something more.
The first time I ever actually told anybody about this, all of this, was in confession. And instead of just kind of brushing past it, he actually said, "Oh, well, do you want to talk about that?" And I was like, "Yeah, please, I do." You know, I was not in the habit of talking about anything that was important to me. He made himself available to me in a way that nobody else ever has. He was very truly a father to me, and continues to be one. I can't even, you know, there's nothing I could ever do to ever repay him for that.
I was born and raised Jewish, and my partner was Catholic, and he loved this Jesus guy. And at first I persecuted my boyfriend, saying, "Ah, stop it, all this Jesus stuff." But finally he said, "Stop it, Richard. You believe what you want to believe and let me believe what I believe." And I realized, wow, I was wrong, and I apologized to him. And because I loved my partner, I wanted to find out why he loved this Jesus guy.
I knew that if I became a Catholic, the homosexuality thing was going to have to go. And I told God I was okay with that because I was falling in love with my Creator. And my identity and relationship to God just seemed more important than my identity and relationship to my girlfriend.
After studying God's Word, my boyfriend and I, we realized, ooh, we're not supposed to be doing what we're doing. So we stopped the physical part of our relationship, and eventually we broke up.
So I focused on building a strong foundation on God. And amazing things happened. I stopped sex, I stopped alcohol, I stopped drugs, and I verbally forgave my dad. I made some really good Catholic male friends. They taught me how to throw, how to hit, how to catch, and I began to like who I was.
I realized that no, I can have all the affection, all the attention, all the acceptance and affirmation from straight men, and that's been my healing process.
I found hope. Hope that comes from God.
The one unmistakable source of Christ's love that came to me. The one unmistakable source of acceptance and healing has always been through the church and her ministers.
There was never peace. There was never true joy. There was never happiness anywhere that I went in the world until I came to the Catholic Church.
Most of the things I heard about homosexuality were not from the church. I knew what was prohibited. I knew that there wasn't a future for me with, like, being married to a man or something. I didn't know why it was prohibited. It seemed arbitrary and cruel, as it still seems to a lot of people.
To anyone who experiences heterosexual feelings, it feels natural. And for a man or woman who experiences SSA, or same-sex attraction, it feels natural.
I think you have to distinguish between two elements of same-sex attraction. There's the natural, good attraction that human beings feel towards other human beings. And this can be emotional. All of these things are perfectly ordered. The only thing that the church says is disordered is when this becomes sexual desire.
The act outside of marriage, whether it's for heterosexuals or those with same-sex attraction, is a sin.
The reason the church does not condone homosexual acts is the same reason that the church doesn't condone contraceptive sex. It's like that's not what sex is for.
Because one flesh is what God originally created. A man shall leave his mother and father and cleave unto his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. And two male bodies can't recreate this. Two female bodies can't recreate this. Only a male and a female.
So when the church says that same-sex attraction is inherently disordered, what they're saying is that desire can't be fulfilled according to the design of our bodies.
I think a lot of people, when they see in the Catechism of the Catholic Church that a same-sex attraction is considered disordered, they feel like that's very harsh language or that it's a judgment. And actually it's not.
I mean, how many of us have told a lie? Well, that's a disordered attraction. And how many of us have seen a member of same-sex or opposite sex and lusted over them in our hearts and our minds and our actions? Well, that's a disordered.
And one of the Eucharistic prayers of the Catholic Mass talks about asking God to help heal our disordered desires and affections for the universal church. This goes for everybody from Pope Francis all the way down.
This is not saying, homosexuals are bad or they're somehow worse or more in need of saving.
All of us are in the exact same boat. Every human being, regardless of what you actually desire, you're made for more than you might desire right now.
Original sin, for all of us, for every human being on the planet, has disoriented our desires. We often find ourselves hungry for things that don't satisfy the ache, don't satisfy the need.
The church is not saying that the desire is a sin. See, actions are sins. Desires are not.
Because you can't be charged with a sin for something you didn't choose, something you can't be in control of. But once we have these attractions to whatever, then I need to choose how I behave.
What do we do when we find desires in us that are not in keeping with the design for human flourishing? Well, if we want to flourish, we need to learn how to say no to a desire that would take me away from true flourishing, so I can say yes to that which leads to authentic flourishing.
So those with same-sex attraction aren't being asked to do anything different than a heterosexual. We're all called to chastity, every single one of us.
Chastity is the virtue that orients our sexual desires according to God's design so we can reach our destiny.
It's not about saying no to pleasure and no to herpes and then no to hell, It's really about saying yes to one really important thing. Yes to authentic love.
The chaste person is not the asexual person. The chaste person is somebody who knows what to do with their sexuality.
Everyone is called to chastity, not as a repression of desire, but as an inner transformation and redemption of desire according to God's design, so we can reach our destiny.
When the church invites people we're not inviting them to a life of emptiness and loneliness. We're inviting them to fully actualize themselves by living out God's plan. Real fulfillment in life isn't achieved by having sex and being sexually active. Real fulfillment in life is reached through love, and love is doing what's right.
And so if you're a man and you're attracted to another man, the question is, what is best for my beloved? What is best for this man I love? Because God and the church and Jesus Christ and the Gospels are not forbidding me to love me, they're commanding me to love him. So how do I do that? Maybe it's through sacrifice. Maybe it's through intercession. Maybe it's through prayer. Maybe it's through purity.
Living according to the natural law means humbly submitting to the design of the Creator and saying, this is the way I am going to choose to live my life. Even if internally I have to fight against impulses and desires that want to take me in a different direction. I humble myself. I say there's a bigger plan, there's a bigger reality, and I submit myself to it.
And when the church invites people with same-sex attraction to do something really difficult, to follow God in their state of life, and man, people who are doing that, they're heroes.
And I think a lot of these same-sex relationships can be true, solid, good friendships, because nobody can live without intimacy. We all need intimacy in our lives. Intimacy, unfortunately, has come to mean sex. It's synonymous with sex, and it's not. It means into me see. We want to be known and loved at our deepest levels, and we want to know and love others at their deepest levels. So we can have lots of sex and no intimacy. We can have lots of intimacy without sex.
We also need to understand that for people who have chosen to live chastity, one of the biggest obstacles is isolation and loneliness. The church has to function as family and as community, and it has to do so in a way that is more powerful and more real than the family and community that people find in the gay scene. At the moment, we're not anywhere near that.
I mean, a large part of the alienation I felt was just what homosexuality was in sort of like widespread Catholic culture. You know, kind of like mean jokes got said about it. Or not mean because, well, nobody we know is actually like that, so we wouldn't talk like that if any of us were like that, but of course, you know, I'm sitting right there.
And sometimes it would be hard sitting there, you know, when the subject of those evil homosexuals would come up, you know, and I would just want so badly to just jump up and yell at them, you know. I'm not what you think gay people are, but I couldn't say anything.
There's this sense that, well, if I do, then they're not going to see me anymore. They're going to see this label. They're going to identify me with the enemy in some way.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who've had negative experiences. Usually it's with people who have grasped the law, but who have not grasped the teaching that a homosexual is a person.
You know, Christianity in general is in a position where we need to start asking forgiveness for those people who have been bigoted to those who have these attractions, whether it be their own family members, whether it be their pastors, kids in their youth groups. Like, we need to say, I'm sorry. Some of these people have suffered a lot, and that's their notion of the Catholic Church. Maybe that's all they know of the church. You know, I admit, I went to an all-guys high school, and I confess, I took part in it. You know, this, you know, you're gay, no, you're gay, you're gay. Just this stupid behavior. And I ask forgiveness on behalf of the entire community of people who experience these attractions, that you've experienced any of this stuff. From people who claim to be Christian like me, claim to be Catholic. I did it.